2020 used to mean something different, didn't it? It meant seeing clearly, knowing where you were headed, understanding what was in front of you, and how to face it. This year hasn't felt like that. When the pandemic hit, it took a heavy toll on legal professionals, clients, and communities. And it was hard to see a way forward. The world changed. Yet in the midst of all this turmoil, some remarkable things happened. Legal professionals answered the call.
If all of the potential jurors will please raise your right hand. All right, do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you will give true answers to all questions asked of you as a juror, so help you God?
You found powerful new ways to adapt and collaborate.
Class of 2020, congratulations on completing the most bizarre law school experience in history.
You learned to serve clients differently. You even juggled your personal and professional lives with grace and humor.
Aaron, it was the James Keane Award you just won, right?
Mia, this is an important podcast. You're gonna need to go down with Mackenzie now, okay? I'll be down in about an hour.
Mackenzie said to ask you because...
Yes, you can be on iPad.
So...
Okay, get Tylenol and you can be on iPad until I'm done, okay? All right.
Now, let's take the next step. We are here to envision a new era of legal practice for ourselves and those we serve. Over the next 4 days, we'll connect, learn, and find strength in our community. Let's spend this time refreshing our energy, renewing our focus, and forming a clearer vision, not just for a new normal, but a better one. It's time to see beyond 2020. Visionaries, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 Clio Cloud Conference. We're so thrilled to have you join us today. I'm Jack Newton, CEO and co-founder of Clio. We have an incredible conference ahead of you. This is our 8th annual Clio Cloud Conference, and I'm so excited to be delivering the conference to you virtually this year. This conference will be unlike any other Clio Cloud Conference in history, and we're so excited to make this conference more accessible than it's ever been. This year, we're welcoming over 4,500 attendees to ClioCon, making this the biggest and the best ClioCon ever. To paraphrase Richard Susskind, ClioCon is a community, not a place. So although we're not having a physical Clio Cloud Conference this year, we've assembled 4,500 of you that are excited to join us in reimagining and co-creating what the future of legal services will look like. So I encourage you to engage with everyone else that is attending ClioCon on the platform today and over the next 4 days, because the community we're creating at ClioCon is something that is so important in terms of our vision to create the future of legal services. We're welcoming attendees from every state in the United States, as well as DC, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the US Virgin Islands. We're welcoming attendees from over 45 countries, including Australia, Belgium, Brazil, England, Germany, India, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. ClioCon this year, more than ever, is a worldwide event, and it's really exciting to have attendees from around the globe joining us for this opening keynote. We have an incredible 4 days ahead. We have keynote speakers that are just unbelievable, including Ben Crump, who's one of the country's foremost lawyers and an important advocate for social justice. Ben is representing the families of several high-profile civil rights cases, including the families of Trayvon Martin and Breonna Taylor. And he also represented the residents of Flint, Michigan, who are affected by the poisoned water of the Flint River. Angela Duckworth will be joining us. Angela is the #1 best-selling author of Grit and a TED Talk sensation. We'll hear Angela describe grit, and she talks about grit as the combination of passion and perseverance in achieving a singularly important goal. And I think grit is something that all of us need to learn more about as we tackle the months that lie ahead. And finally, we'll have Seth Godin, one of the foremost thinkers of marketing in the world, joining us. Seth is the author of 19 best-selling books. He's the founder of the Alt MBA, and he has shaped how many people think about marketing, and will be sharing with us how legal professionals can think about marketing in new and innovative ways, and how marketing is changing in a COVID-19 world. We're also going to be joined by over 50 leading thinkers, both from within and outside the legal sphere, helping us reimagine how we can deliver legal services and hear dispatches from the front lines of legal innovation. And you're going to be joined by 60 incredible members of Team Clio, helping you level up your game on every aspect of running a cloud-based law firm. And the entertainment for this year's ClioCon is absolutely off the hook. We're bringing bigger and better names than we've ever had at ClioCon, including Stephanie Izard, a famous chef of Girl and the Goat and many other restaurants in Chicago. Ben Harper is going to be entertaining us, along with one of my favorite artists, Nathaniel Rateliff. And we have Questlove joining us. The entertainment, if you came for nothing else, is well worth the price of admission to ClioCon. All the content is just gravy. We're going to be delivering and announcing the Reisman Awards this year a bit differently than we usually do. And before I get started with a formal keynote, I want to recognize the winners of this year's Reisman Awards. And what we'll be doing is spotlighting each of the Reisman winners in what we're describing a Reisman Spotlight session over the course of the conference. And you'll see a short video highlighting why these law firms were selected as winners of the Reisman Award. So let's walk through the winners of this year's Reisman Awards. The best growth story, and by the way, we had a record-setting number of submissions for the Reisman Awards this year, so the winners of the awards this year should feel especially proud of being selected from an incredible field of nominees. Best growth story goes to Donato Law. When fire and flood struck Jody and Donato's law office, both in the same week, she didn't let these disasters stop her. She didn't just weather those storms, she grew her firm substantially in spite of them. For legal innovation, we're excited to recognize Roche Legal. Rachel Roche knew that the British will signing laws were outdated. Those laws have been in place since 1837, and she used technology to create 21st century legal solutions. Among other innovations, Rachel created the online real writing and lasting power of attorney service, and really excited to hear more about Rachel's story in her session. For excellence in client service, we're excited to recognize Seba Forte. The team at Seba Forte understands that navigating the legal system can be incredibly challenging for non-English speakers, so they put their clients at ease with creative solutions like virtual reality courtrooms, gamification, and visual charts. For Best New Law Firm, we're excited to announce Schneck Immigration Law is the winner. In order to be a better advocate for her clients, Kristen Schneck left a large law firm to start her own woman-led immigration law practice, and 100% of her clients came with her. And finally, the Community Champion Reisman Award goes to OGB&B, better known as Counsel Carolina. Counsel Carolina has a unique approach to closing the justice gap in North Carolina. The firm's lawyers drive a 33-foot retro-inspired RV around the state in order to provide legal services directly to underserved communities. So again, I encourage you to join the Reisman Spotlight Awards sessions to hear more about the compelling stories of the firms that are behind each of these Reisman Awards. So please join me in a virtual round of applause for this year's Reisman Award winners. So 2020, man, this has been a year that looked so different than any of us could have imagined when we brought in the new year back on January 1st. And I want to take a moment to recognize the challenges that so many of us have faced over the last 6 months. First of all, we've obviously had a pandemic that has leveled a steep humanitarian toll, with over 1 million deaths worldwide and over 215,000 of those deaths in the US alone. This global health crisis has been accompanied by an economic collapse, the speed and depth of which the world has never seen. We've also seen a long overdue moment of reckoning around social inequality, systemic racism that has persisted for far too long in many aspects of our society. The killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and so many others sparked a global justice movement unlike the world has ever seen. And even months into this disruption, we've seen protests continue and sustained urban unrest from Washington to Portland. We've also seen the worst wildfires on record ravage the West Coast. And among the many lives we've lost in 2020, we've lost some of the most influential figures in our industry and some of the highest impact people that have ever walked the face of this earth. Oh, and it's also an election year, in one of the most polarized and divisive elections we've ever seen. And we're seeing a sustained and ongoing coronavirus pandemic that is by no means over. In the US, we're dealing not only with an outbreak in the West Wing of the White House, but a nationwide spike of over 50,000 new cases per day. And it's very clear we're going to be dealing with the ramifications of COVID-19 for months, if not years to come. And man, it's been a lot. I think we feel like Ben looks in this photo. We all feel exhausted, emotionally spent, tired of doom scrolling ourselves to sleep every night. Some of us wonder when things will get back to normal. All of us wonder when things will get back to normal. And I want to make an important point. Things aren't going back to normal, ever, and they shouldn't. One of the most impactful quotes I've read over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic comes from Sonia Renee Taylor. And I'll give you a moment to read this. But I think what Sonia captures so powerfully here is that amongst the COVID-19 pandemic, we're being given a unique opportunity to build something completely new. And in fact, so much of what we regarded as normal was broken and unequal. I think we can look at the devastation of 2020 as an opportunity to build something from the ground up and to build something that is not a new normal, but a better normal. But to get there, we need some new tools. We need some new tools to navigate the tremendous amount of uncertainty that is being presented to us. And what I want to spend the next few minutes talking about is some really powerful tools that we've adopted at Clio over the past decade to help navigate these kinds of environments. One of those tools orbits around the concept of VUCA. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And VUCA is actually a military term, and it was coined during the Cold War to describe the new emergent environment that military leaders were having to navigate. That was completely unlike the military environments they had to navigate previously. This was an environment dominated by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Think about events like the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's a great example of a VUCA military environment. So when you're facing a VUCA environment, we see a lot of VUCA in 2020. This is a year that has been characterized in so many ways by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And the question is, how can you navigate this environment successfully? Do you just throw in the towel and call it a day and get buffeted by the winds of VUCA? Or do you find a way to chart a course through this chaos? And there is a way to chart a course through this chaos. And it's a concept called VUCA Prime. In the early 2000s, Bob Johansen developed this concept called VUCA Prime. And this is really a playbook for navigating VUCA environments, and it's enormously powerful. And I want you to take this concept of VUCA Prime into the next 4 days of ClioCon and beyond as a tool for navigating the kinds of environments that COVID-19 are presenting us with. And if you successfully embrace these tools, you will find yourself finding a way to thrive in a VUCA environment. The key concept behind VUCA Prime is that we can counter volatility with vision. We can counter uncertainty by building understanding. We can navigate complexity by building clarity, and we can counter ambiguity through agility and being able to pivot and iterate rapidly based on changing conditions. The concept of VUCA Prime is something that is especially close to home for me because I feel like I've been living through a VUCA environment for the last 12 years in building Clio. If we rewind all the way back to ABA Tech Show 2008, when Ryan and I launched Clio, we were launching a completely unknown technology and encouraging an industry to embrace something that they had never heard about before, which was the concept of cloud computing. And the only thing that is constant in a startup environment is change. Over the course of the last 12 years, we've tackled all sorts of challenges. We've grown Clio from 2 people to 500 people. And this 12 years of being in a VUCA environment has really, what has helped me is embracing the tools of VUCA Prime. VUCA Prime is such an important concept, we actually incorporate into our onboarding and training for every new Clio employee. Because if you are not the kind of person who thrives in a changing environment, in a rapidly changing environment, you're not the kind of person that's going to succeed at Clio. The situation of 2020 has thrown everybody into a situation where they're essentially in a startup environment. Whether you like change or not, you are in a position where you need to navigate it in 2020. And VUCA Prime is an enormously powerful tool to do exactly that. Let me focus on a specific example of VUCA Prime coming to life at Clio. And let's rewind to when COVID hit initially. On March 13th of this year, we sent everyone home as the coronavirus pandemic in Vancouver, Toronto, and our other worldwide offices was starting to hit in a big way. We shifted our entire 500-person plus organization to virtual. On Friday, we were in our offices. On Monday, we were a completely virtual company with 500 of our employees working from home. We closed our 5 worldwide offices, and those offices remain closed to this day. We made a pivot to this new model that we describe as distributed by design permanently within a month of making the shift to virtual because we realized this was the new way of working, not just for a few months, but we'd be feeling the impacts of this pandemic for many months to come. And we embraced this new distributed way of working. As soon as we had our basic needs at Clio met, if we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we had our food, water, and shelter. We turned our attention to the industry, the illegal industry, and asked how can we help our customers and the industry navigate this change. We launched a $1 million relief fund where we helped existing and new customers move their practices to the cloud. We deployed training tools to help legal organizations navigate this enormous amount of change. We launched a historic partnership with the ABA, where we recognized that our unique strengths could be brought to bear together to help the legal industry tackle the unique challenges being presented by COVID-19. We launched an 800 number that any lawyer could phone and get information on how to navigate government support programs, how to migrate their practice to the cloud. We launched a daily podcast, which yesterday we just published episode number 100, where we track developments on the front line of COVID-19 and shared all those developments with the industry so that, again, if we think about the VUCA Prime lens, we're able to build understanding and clarity by getting a better picture of what's happening on the front lines of law firms dealing with COVID-19. And last but certainly not least, we tore up our plan for the 2020 Legal Trends Report when COVID-19 hit and decided to publish the report live, essentially giving real-time updates, real-time insights on how COVID-19 was impacting the legal industry, both at a macro level and at a state level and practice area specific levels. Again, through the VUCA Prime lens, we can see how this helps the industry and helps individual law firms and lawyers understand the specific impacts they can anticipate and calibrate to as COVID-19 was helping. We were deploying our own VUCA Prime tools to the industry at large to help it navigate COVID-19 successfully. The concept of VUCA Prime is hugely powerful. And again, as we enter the next 4 days of the Clio Cloud Conference, I want you to think about this in the back of your mind as you're listening to every presenter and every session, thinking about how you can apply vision, understanding, clarity, and agility to counter the enormously chaotic macro environment that all of us are trying to navigate. The law firms that embrace VUCA Prime will be the law firms that emerge from this pandemic stronger than when they entered it. And just like any other economic crisis, COVID-19 will have both winners and losers. There will be law firms that emerge from this pandemic having consolidated, having reinforced their market-leading positions, and there will be law firms that cannot adapt to the change. Law firms that get sucked into the VUCA environment that will emerge significantly weakened or having failed outright. And there's a really important concept, and to end perhaps on an encouraging note as we enter the rest of the keynote, there's an enormous opportunity to thrive on change. I know that it's an enormously challenging environment to navigate, but there's a concept called anti-fragility that Nassim Nicholas Taleb introduced a few years ago. And this concept of anti-fragility is what he describes as the opposite of fragility. But it's this idea that some things can benefit from big shocks. Some systems can thrive and grow when they're exposed to volatility and randomness and disorder and stressors. Some systems that love adventure and risk and uncertainty. And the VUCA Prime framework gives you the tools that you need to thrive and succeed in this environment. And as difficult as it can be to think about thriving in this environment, to think about how you can calibrate your way of thinking about the world, is a hugely important aspect as it relates to thriving on change. We're all familiar with Darwin's statement that it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. And that's truer than ever amidst COVID-19. But there's an important add-on to Darwin's statement that Stephen Jay Gould introduced late in the 20th century, and it's this concept of punctuated equilibria. And what Stephen Jay Gould advocates for is this theory that evolution is not a progressive set of changes that happens over a long time span, but it's instead a punctuated event that is brought on by some huge geological moment that drives massive change in a species. That essentially species exist in a state of stasis for long periods of time, go through this punctuated event, and emerge to a new level of stasis, a new state of stasis. I think that's exactly what's happening to the legal industry right now. We can probably all agree this has been an industry that has been in stasis for far too long. If we think about the change that has gone through the legal industry in the past 100 years, there's been more change in the last 6 months. There's been a decade or more of change compressed into just a handful of months. And this is, I think, absolutely one of these punctuated events that Stephen Jay Gould talks about. And we're going to emerge at a new equilibrium. But what we're going to see is that some law firms are making this adaptation to the new environment more rapidly than others. And again, these will be the law firms that not only survive, but thrive in this environment. And what I'd like to bring together is our legal trends report for 2020, as well as some very exciting product announcements together to round out the keynote with what I describe as a new vision for legal. Let's start off describing the problem we have in legal right now. Some of you might remember from last year, I talked about this concept of product market fit, and the fact that essentially this access to justice gap is a product market fit problem for the legal industry. If we think about the product as the way that legal services are delivered today, and the market as the consumers of legal services, the fit is the overlap of the Venn diagram between the product and the market. And what I think is very clear is that the gap between the product and the market is a significant one, and one that is only growing. The access to justice gap is really nothing more than a product market fit gap. It's a reflection of the fact that the way that lawyers are delivering legal services today is not the way that the market, the way that legal consumers want to consume those legal services. We saw this data back in 2018 from the World Justice Project when they told us that 77% of legal problems did not receive legal assistance. And it's very clear that this problem of 77% of legal issues not being addressed is only going to get worse over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's look at a few data points from this year's Legal Trends Report. This report, by the way, is going live as we speak, and I'm going to give a very quick overview of a few really important takeaways from this year's Legal Trends Report. But later today, George Saharis will be diving in 2 sessions on the Legal Trends Report and helping unpack some of the very important findings from this year's report. This year's report, unsurprisingly, focuses almost all of its attention on the impacts of COVID-19 on legal. And as every year, we look at the anonymized and aggregated data that has come out of the Clio platform, but we've also performed large-scale quantitative studies with both consumers and law firms to understand some of the shifting trends and sentiment around technology and around the delivery of legal services. So let's start off on the consumer side. One of the clear trends we're seeing in this year's Legal Trends Report is that more consumers expect to need a lawyer than ever before. We see 23% of consumers telling us that they expect to need a lawyer in the near future, and we're seeing 22% of consumers telling us that they have a coronavirus-related issue that they expect to need to see addressed. We're also seeing that consumers are putting off legal problems, with 67% of consumers telling us that they're going to put off a legal issue. And another very surprising data point, by the way, is that a significant minority of legal consumers think that law firms have stopped offering their services. And this was especially pronounced at the onset of the pandemic. But our most recent data points in this longitudinal study is that as recently as August, that figure has remained high at 23%. This, by the way, is contrasted with just 2% of law firms reporting to us that they have indeed stopped offering their services. My theory is that consumers are reading about court closures and court reductions and extrapolating from this that law firms must be closed. But this is obviously incorrect, and perhaps one of the reasons we're seeing this huge backlog of legal demand store up. So what this data from the Legal Trends Report tells me is that there's a tsunami of legal demand coming at us. And if things seem quiet right now, this is just because, think of it as the water going out before the tsunami hits. There is a backlog of existing demand forming, and there's a whole raft of new COVID-19 specific legal issues that consumers are encountering both at a professional and personal level. So we need to think about the quiet now as a time to build for the tsunami of legal demand. And by the way, the nature of this legal demand is going to be different than it's ever been as well. When we look at consumer ability to pay, 61% of consumers are telling us they simply cannot afford to deal with a legal problem today. And again, this should come as no surprise. In 2018, the Federal Reserve study on economic well-being in the US told us that 39% of Americans didn't have funds available to pay for a $400 emergency expense. This is about an hour and a half of the average hourly rate of a lawyer in the US. And again, 2018, those are the good times. This is only getting worse. Now, I talked about this concept of punctuated equilibria, and we are seeing a geological event as it relates to both consumer and lawyer adoption of technology. This is creating an entirely new landscape. And if you think about it, if we abuse the biological metaphor, it's creating the opportunity for a new species to emerge that is calibrated and adapted to this new environment. And let me share a few of the data points that paint a picture of just how vastly different this environment is. First of all, in consumer adoption of technology, we see 58% of consumers say that technology is more important to them now than it was before the pandemic. We see 81% of consumers telling us they are equally, if not more, comfortable with tech than before the pandemic, and a full 50% of consumers telling us they're more comfortable with tech than before the pandemic. And we see this on the ground every day with our friends and our families. We have grandparents that all of a sudden are completely facile with Zoom calls. We've started using Zoom as a verb, whereas this was a relatively unknown technology just 7 months ago. We have seen truly a tectonic shift in consumer adoption of technology. And we're also seeing a huge shift in lawyer adoption of technology. And in what is perhaps a first in the Legal Trends Report, we're seeing that lawyers are, in fact, further ahead of the curve in adopting new technology than consumers expect they are. I'll break down this graph very quickly, and again, George will walk through this in more depth in his session. But we see on the blue here a reflection of how much consumers believe lawyers have adopted specific sets of technology. The reality is in the green, and we can see that for the first time ever, there's a significant majority of lawyers embracing technology to help run their law firm. We see this in our qualitative data as well, with 83% of legal professionals telling us that they continue to meet clients virtually after the pandemic. Again, this concept of a punctuated equilibrium has come into play. This is not a temporary change. This is a permanent change. We're also seeing, and perhaps this is most important for us as we try to extrapolate from these data points around what the future holds, we're seeing a profound shift in consumers' expectation of lawyers. 69% of consumers told us that they prefer lawyers who can share documents through a document sharing web page, app, or online portal. For the Clio customers in the audience, this would be using a tool like Clio Connect that allows you to easily connect with your clients online. 56% of consumers believe that most legal matters can be dealt with remotely and that they would prefer to do this over a video call. I want to, for a moment, pause and contrast this with what we saw in just the 2019 Legal Trends Report that showed a very strong preference among consumers to meet in person with their lawyers for virtually every type of legal interaction. And that has been flipped on its head. And again, this is a punctuation mark in the evolutionary path of the delivery of legal services. And this figure is only going to grow over time. We've also seen data that reflects this capacity to pay on the consumer side, with 78% of consumers telling us that lawyers should adopt pricing or payment models that will make legal services more affordable. And again, want to emphasize affordable here. Many people read affordable as cheaper, and that is not at all what consumers are telling us. They want to find ways of consuming legal services that are different than the way legal professionals are offering them today. There's some really concrete ways that legal professionals can make their services more accessible. Payment plans are a simple example where you allow consumers to pay for the legal services you deliver over time in predictable installment payments. We see a large majority of consumers that want payment plans, and yet most law firms do not offer them. If we look at our friend Erin Levine with her Hello Divorce model, which is now going national, and you'll be able to hear from Erin right here at ClioCon, I believe we're going to see more lawyers moving to subscription legal services. This is the future. This is something that can help us make legal services more available to more consumers. And again, consumers are telling us that 52% of consumers are telling us that most legal matters could be easily handled remotely without meeting in person. And this was a very surprising stat for me. 31% of consumers tell us that most, if not all, lawyers should be running their practices virtually in the future. Again, this is a data point that I think probably without COVID-19 would have been a data point that we were seeing in the year 2030 or beyond, and it's happening today. 26% of consumers tell us also that lawyers who aren't able to represent their clients remotely are not good lawyers. And finally, the MaxDiff analysis that we performed, and we explained this more in depth in this year's Legal Trends Report, but essentially what this MaxDiff analysis allows us to do is to determine how much impact various factors consumers feel have in the hireability of a law firm, and how much lawyers feel these factors are important to them achieving success. An interesting observation here is that having commercial office space is dead last for both groups. The findings from the 2020 Legal Trends Report, to me, ask a very important question, and that is if the bricks and mortar law office is dead. And in fact, we're seeing more and more law firms move to a completely cloud-based model where they have no law office at all. And for the law firms that do maintain law offices in the future, I believe those law offices will play a very different role than they play today. We may not be seeing the death of the bricks and mortar law office today, but I believe that we are going to see a vastly diminished importance for the bricks and mortar law office in the future. And we're seeing that both from the client side and we're seeing that from the lawyer side. I'm going to quote William Gibson with one of my favorite quotes of all time, with this idea that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. We're going to see law firms move to completely cloud-based models where they have no physical law offices, and that won't necessarily be the dominant model in 2021 or 2022. But we will see an increasing number of law firms operating entirely virtually. And we, by the way, see very clearly in the Legal Trends Report data, there's an increasingly large majority of consumers that are perfectly happy to consume legal services from a completely cloud-based law firm. And what I want to conclude my opening keynote with is a blueprint for how we think about the way we assimilate the Legal Trends Report data from this year and use that data in a VUCA Prime way to think about what the law firm of the future looks like. And again, this might be a William Gibson vision of a future that is not far off. This is a future that's here and available today for the law firms that want to embrace it. The two pillars of our vision of the future are law firms being cloud-based and client-centered. Let's talk first about cloud-based. When we talk about being cloud-based, I want to emphasize something really important. When we talk about being cloud-based in 2008, the idea of being cloud-based was that you would operate a small part of your law office technology, your practice management software, and instead of running it on-premise on a server in your broom closet, you would run that software in the cloud. When we talk about being cloud-based in 2020, we are talking about a more fulsome evolution of your law firm where you're bringing your entire client journey into the cloud. I talk about this extensively in my book, The Client-Centered Law Firm, but I want to highlight an important concept from this book, and that's the concept of the client journey. When we're applying the concept of VUCA Prime to this journey, it's important that we build clarity around how every stage of this journey is touched and changed thanks to the changes brought on by being cloud-based. How does each stage of this journey live in a cloud-based world? And let's talk about some of the tools, some of the tools that Clio is making available. Sorry, let me get through this transition quickly. Let's talk about some of the tools that Clio is making available to enable the cloud-based law firm. And let's look at one of the most important stages of this client journey, which is finding clients in the cloud. We're no longer finding clients at that networking event at our local Chamber of Commerce meeting. Those days are long gone, maybe gone forever. Instead, clients are searching for lawyers online. 57% of consumers tell us that they're starting their own search for lawyers online. That's a number from the 2019 Legal Trends Report, by the way, pre-pandemic. That number is going to be increasing rapidly over the course of the next few years. And 86% of legal consumers tell us that Google is their starting point for that online search. So if you want to think about where legal demand is starting in the COVID-19 era and beyond, that legal demand is starting on Google. What you might be used to when you think about a Google search is the way that Google search looked just a handful of years ago, where you're thinking about how do I stand out among either the paid or the organic search results in Google. But Google's been doing something very interesting over the course of the last few years. And they've been developing a platform called Google My Business. And Google My Business is a way for consumers to quickly find the right local business that can help them with their needs, including their legal needs. You can see that without ever leaving Google, a consumer can find reviews relating to your law firm. They can see your hours of operation, your address, your phone number. They can even make appointments with you online. This experience, by the way, also translates seamlessly to mobile. And what we're really excited to announce today at ClioCon is a partnership with Google. And I'll give you a bit of backstory on this partnership. And there's really a lot of serendipity on both sides in terms of how Google and Clio came together to make this announcement a possibility. Google has been investing in helping make its Google My Business services more available to legal professionals. And the legal industry is one of the places that in 2020 and beyond, Google will be investing more aggressively. And just like with every industry that they start building a tighter relationship with, Google looks to the leaders in those respective industries to bring their products to market. OpenTable would be a great example in the restaurant industry. And Google partnered with OpenTable to integrate reservations directly into Google My Business for restaurants. For the legal industry, Google looked to Clio and approached Clio about integrating Google My Business directly within Clio. And on the Clio side, we, as you know, have been investing in Grow over the last couple of years. And we've been looking for ways to help our customers capture leads online and convert those leads to clients. And we've been looking with companies to partner with that can help create demand for lawyers that use Clio Grow. And who better to look to when you look at the data that I just outlined, who better to look to than Google for that partnership? So we're very excited with Google to be announcing a tight integration between Clio and Google that allows you to seamlessly integrate Google My Business with Clio. And to tell us a little bit more about the integration, I would like to welcome virtually Denise Jain, the Head of Technology Partnership Implementations at Google.
Hi, ClioCon. My name is Denise Jain, and I am the Head of Technology Partner Implementations at Google. As Jack mentioned, our goal is to make it easy for our users to find the products and services they're searching for on Google, including lawyers. We are very excited to be here today and to be announcing that we have partnered with Clio, making setting up your business profile on Google one of the easiest ways to connect with potential clients online. Your business profile helps you be found and connect with customers across Google Maps and search. Thanks to Jack and the rest of the Clio team, we look forward to working together as we enter the digital era of legal.
Thanks, Denise. So this is a historic moment for Clio, and partnering with someone like Google is exciting for us and it's even more exciting for you, our customers. And let's look at what this new integration looks like. Here's how your Google My Business profile might look today. This is the current starting point for most law firms. And this is what is described as an unclaimed profile, which means that the owner of the law firm has not taken ownership of the digital storefront that is their Google My Business profile. You can see that this profile is missing all of the cool features Google My Business offers, like online reviews and so on. Claiming your profile is the first thing you do to start the process of setting up your Google My Business profile. And all you need to do in Clio is type in your law firm name, and you'll be able to create your Google My Business listing if it doesn't already exist. Because Clio already has a lot of information on your law firm, we can pre-fill many of the fields on your profile, and you can add or remove or change any of the information that you would like to customize for your Google My Business profile. To make sure that no one else can claim your Google My Business My profile, you need to verify your address. Google will send you a postcard to your address with a code that you can enter in your Google My Business profile, and you're done. That's all there is to setting up your Google My Business profile in Clio. There's no need to be a marketing expert. You can see and preview all of the information relating to your digital storefront directly from within Clio. Even better, if you're a Clio Grow customer, you can configure the Clio Grow scheduler to take appointments right in Google. That means when a customer finds your Google My Business page, they can make an appointment which is directly integrated with the Clio Grow scheduler. When we unveiled the Clio scheduler to you back at ClioCon in 2019, it was a hugely exciting announcement. And in the time since that announcement, we've evolved and changed scheduling to allow for paid initial consultations and appointments. This capability is more important than ever to be able to capture payments for initial consultations and help prevent no-shows. And I'll show you how this works. All you need to do is tap the appointment slot. You can see there's an initial consultation with a $100 fee. You can simply tap the date that you want that works for your schedule. Your prospective client can enter their credit card information, and boom. This appointment shows up on your Clio managed calendar, and your client has an email confirming their appointment with you and has the option of adding this to their calendar as well. Now, once you've built your Google My Business profile, you're going to be driving traffic to your website as well. And something we've enabled you to do is allow for on-demand intake with public intake forms on your website. This will make you look like a modern law firm that understands what being cloud-based looks like to your clients, and will enable you to seamlessly and easily capture client information directly on your website. And another feature we're really excited to announce is the ability to add multiple contacts on those intake forms. This is something many of you asked for, and we're really excited to add this capability to Clio's public intake forms. Now let's talk next about what cloud communication looks like with a cloud-based law firm. Last year in the Legal Trends Report, we did a deep dive on communications. And we focused really on the primary modes of communication back in 2019, which were email, phone, and face-to-face meetings. But this punctuated equilibrium that we're now in, thanks to COVID-19, has seen a drastic change that's been enabled largely by Zoom. Zoom has exploded in use. So over the first 3 months of the COVID-19 pandemic, Zoom usage went from 10 million to 200 million unique Zoom users in just 3 months. Pretty incredible. So we are extremely excited to integrate deeply with Zoom. Zoom is without question the leading video platform, and importantly is one that most consumers understand how to use. And I'll show you what this looks like. Creating a Zoom meeting, joining a Zoom meeting is integrated natively in your Clio calendar. And joining a Zoom meeting for you is as simple as clicking a link in your Clio calendar, and likewise for your client. And we believe this is the new face-to-face, not just over the course of COVID-19, but for the long term. We're going to see so much of how lawyers and clients meet happening online. But not all communication happens online. We've seen a huge amount of communication move to video conference, but sometimes all of us prefer a plain old phone call. And many of us also discovered that that old phone system that we had installed in our bricks and mortar law office was a bit of a liability when COVID-19 hit. Nobody wants a phone ringing in an empty office. So moving to a cloud-based phone platform is something that many, if not all, law offices need to look at so that they can pick up the phone, whether they're at the office or at home or on the go on their mobile. Dialpad is absolutely one of the leaders in telephony in the cloud, and they have an incredible platform that is now deeply integrated with Clio. You're able to receive and place a call directly from within Clio and capture information relating to that call using Clio's communication logs. You can easily attach billable time to a phone call as well as notes relating to the phone call. The other piece of cloud communications is in making e-signature seamless. Wet signatures, I believe, will soon seem like a vestige of the pre-COVID-19 world. And we're seeing so many new applications of e-signatures and rapid acceptance of e-signatures in the legal world. To streamline this as much as possible, we've built e-signatures directly into Clio. So you can now send documents out for review and your clients can sign them immediately, saving you time and making it more convenient for your clients. I'll show you this workflow directly from within Clio Manage. You can see how easy it is to get your client to sign documents online. Let's talk next about how communications are moving into digital channels, and in some ways, what can be an overwhelming set of digital channels. Your clients are being inundated by emails, Zoom calls, phone calls, text, documents that are being shared out to them, calendar invites, bills that are being sent to them. And both for you and your clients, it can become overwhelming to keep up with these many disparate communication channels. And we've been thinking long and hard about how we can reinvent this for a post-COVID world. And we're really excited to announce a brand new product from Clio to address this need. And it's a product that we call Clio for Clients. This is a mobile app that allows your clients to securely communicate with you and share information with you. It's the first secure app of its kind, designed from the ground up to make communicating with your clients easy for you and easy for them. And importantly, it's secure by design. This app replaces the need for your clients to spend time drafting emails, setting up meetings, or making phone calls with you and your law firm. This app allows you to easily push key details like status updates and next steps to your clients, which they can now access from the palm of their hand. The app allows your clients to securely chat with you and to access all of their case details in one spot. Your clients can even send documents directly to you from within the app. And most importantly, we designed this very intentionally to be simple for your clients. We made simple sign up, we made simple activation, and we made it secure so that using integrated tools like Face ID, Touch ID, or Android fingerprint, your clients can securely access this app without having to remember a password. So let me walk you through the new Clio for Clients experience. When you send your first secure message to your client through Clio for Clients, they'll receive an initial email stating that they've received a secure message with an update on their case. And they'll be prompted to download Clio for Clients. Your client will then download the app, and all your client needs to do is put in her email address. She doesn't need to create or remember a password. Once she's entered her email address, she'll then receive a confirmation email. She just has to tap the blue button, and she'll gain access to her account. We've removed any of the friction that's typically introduced when establishing a secure channel of communication. Your client's now logged into the app and prompted to set up Face ID, Touch ID, or Android fingerprint. With this additional layer of biometric security, your client can ensure her client data stays secure even if somebody else gets a hold of her phone. Now, with that simple login process established, your client's able to look at their case dashboard. Your client's able to identify that you've sent a message to them. They're able to easily access that message and tap a quick reply. Let's walk through the document workflow. She can also tap the document that was included in your message to her and see this form for a petition for divorce. She's able to easily print out this form from directly within the app. And finally, this is really cool. She's able to scan an image of the completed form using her phone, scan it into the app, which is automatically cropped and straightened and adjusted for lighting, and she's able to send it back to you completely effortlessly as a clean PDF back into Clio. This is easy, effortless, and secure. Clio for Clients is one of the most important products that we've recently shipped and will be something we'll be investing in for years to come. This is what we believe the future of client communication looks like, and we're excited to make this available to everyone at the Clio Cloud Conference today via early access. You'll be getting an email later today inviting you to this early access for Clio for Clients. Messaging and documents is available today, and coming soon will be events, notifications, and tasks, which will be released over the course of the next couple of months. Now let's talk next about collaboration in the cloud. And collaboration in 2020 is about more than just collaborating with your clients. We're needing to find ways of collaborating with our firm partners and staff in an entirely different way. We're working in increasingly distributed law offices where most, if not all, of our employees are working from home at the moment. And it's impossible to talk about cloud collaboration without talking about Microsoft. While we think about Clio as the operating system of the legal industry, Microsoft is the operating system of cloud productivity. And we've worked closely with Microsoft to build a shared vision of what the future of collaboration looks like. And again, have partnered with one of the industry leaders to bring a best-of-class experience to Clio customers. And we've built a deep integration with Microsoft Teams to allow you to easily and effortlessly communicate in real time with your team members on Microsoft Teams. You can see that you have a team dedicated to each matter that is set up in Clio. This is a secure communication channel that shares permissions that are set up in Clio. So only the right people that should be accessing that matter in this chat channel have access. And we've also made it easy for you through the dashboard in Microsoft Teams to access up-to-date live information relating to this case directly from within Microsoft Teams. We've also made a few other updates to make cloud collaboration easier because we realized that those water cooler conversations and the osmotic information flow that used to happen in in-person physical law offices isn't happening anymore. We've made it easy for you to stay up to date in terms of what is happening in your law firm with integrated notifications so you never miss an update from members in your firm that are working on cases in Clio. We also realized that things are flowing in a really dynamic way in terms of who is responsible for a specific case at your firm and what your staff makeup looks like as you have to offload and bring on new staff to calibrate to the ever-changing needs of a COVID-19 environment. And as a result, we've made it easier than ever to reassign work from one of your team members to another. Let's next talk about what payments look like in the cloud. And getting paid is more important today than it's ever been. And we've rethought over the course of the last year from the ground up what the payments journey in Clio looks like. What we've seen is a fundamental shift in how we think about billing at Clio. When we launched Clio in 2008, this was in the era of bricks and mortar law offices that would print out physical invoices, paper invoices, fold them up, put them in an envelope, lick a stamp, and send them to their clients. By the way, they usually took 6 months on average, as we saw from legal trends report data, to invoice their clients from the time they did the work. And their clients in turn would track down their checkbook, stuff a check into an envelope, and mail payment back to their lawyer. And by the way, they also took 5 to 6 months on average to pay their lawyer. So the average law firm was dealing with an enormously intensive workload in physically sending out these invoices and waiting a long time to get paid for their accounts receivable. This payments journey has been completely reimagined from the ground up in Clio to reflect what we view as the new reality of how law firms should be billing that allows them to get bills out the door effortlessly with no licking of stamps and get paid faster because it's completely frictionless and effortless for their clients to pay them. We also think about the concept of automating collections. If your client forgets to pay you, Clio should be able to automatically remind your client in as kind a way as possible that that payment is still outstanding. You shouldn't need to hire a collections firm to get paid. And in many cases, your client has simply forgot and just needs prodded to apply that payment to an invoice. This is what the new invoicing workflow looks like in Clio. The end product is an email-based invoice that is ready to be paid online via electronic payment. And the Legal Trends Report tells us very clearly, by the way, this is how the vast majority of clients want to pay. So if you're not already shifting to electronic billing in Clio, know that this is the way that you get paid quickly and easily in the COVID-19 world and beyond. We've also redesigned Clio's billing platform from the ground up to be simpler and easier to use. This is what our billing platform looked like before we made these important changes. And you can see that we've reimagined and redesigned and streamlined and simplified every aspect of the billing experience to focus on two things: the bills that you've got to get out the door and the outstanding balances that reflect the payables from your clients. We've eliminated every other distraction and allowed you to easily focus on the bills that are outstanding and focus on the clients that need prodded to get to pay you. We've also made it easy to personalize the messages that you're sending through this electronic billing platform. Something we heard loud and clear from all of you is that you want the tone and the voice of your law firm reflected back in the electronic invoices and messages that are being sent to your clients from the Clio platform. And we now allow you to apply a series of bill email templates to all of your email communications so that you can integrate your firm's voice and tone for all of those messages. And finally, we've made it easier than ever to get your bills to the right people. You can identify any of the related contacts in a matter as a billing recipient contact, and they will receive a copy of the email invoice that you send to your client, making sure that your bill gets into the right person's hands to get paid. This is a small feature that I know is going to make a lot of you happy. We've enhanced our integration with QuickBooks Online so that you can record a trust disbursement in Clio and sync this with QuickBooks Online. And after this sync is complete, it's easy to securely print a professional and secure check directly from within QuickBooks Online. This eliminates the risk of accounting errors and eliminates duplicate data entry. So seamless, painless check printing is now a part of Clio. And last but not least, on cloud-based payments, we're excited to announce automated bill reminders. We're making it easier than ever for you to remind your clients that there's outstanding account balances. This eliminates all of the administrative overhead that used to be involved in doing this manually. And all you need to do is set a simple auto reminder that will remind your client of outstanding balances. It will aggregate the outstanding balances for all of their outstanding bills if they have more than one, and make it very easy for them to pay all of those bills with one simple online payment. And again, this is being made available for early access today for all ClioCon attendees. Again, this is our completely reimagined payments journey, and this is what the future of online payment looks like for law firms. Let's next talk about a cloud connected by Clio. What I mean here is that we talk about Clio as the operating system for legal. And the Clio platform has become the place, like the Google App Store and the Apple App Store, where innovation is happening. If you're a legal application, Clio is the place to access a huge and rapidly growing market of innovative legal technology users. One of the things the Clio platform was missing, however, was something that allowed our clients to easily and securely log into the 200 plus innovative integration partners that are part of the Clio platform. And what we identified is that the legal industry was missing a secure identity, an integrated identity, in the same way that Apple has Apple ID and Google has the Google login. We saw an opportunity to turn the Clio login to a secure, unified legal identity that can be used not only to access Clio Manage, but a growing ecosystem of our integration partners. Sign in with Clio is a new technology that makes it easy and seamless to not only log in to Clio Manage, but to initially launch partners of WiseTime, MyFirmData, Legal Boards, LawYaw, and Fastcase. So again, without remembering an additional login, without remembering yet another username and password, you can now log in to each of these tools using your secure Clio identity. Oh, and one more thing. This also works with Clio Grow. So you no longer need to use two different username and passwords to access Clio Manage and Clio Grow. Your Clio identity will allow you to access Clio Manage, Clio Grow, and over time, 200 integration partners on the Clio app directory. We've also made the process of installing and connecting our app integrations easier than ever. So with these launch partners, you can now add these integrations to Clio with just a couple of clicks, making the process of adding app integrations easier and simpler than it's ever been. Let's back up for a moment. We talked about the future of legal, our vision for the future of legal service delivery being cloud-based and client-centered. So I've talked about all the cool new tools that Clio's made available to you to be more fulsomely a cloud-based firm. Let's talk next about what being client-centered really means and how you can deploy some of the tools I just described into a new cloud-based client journey for your clients. Being cloud-based isn't enough. Being cloud-based is about the technological underpinnings that are just the start to being a law firm that thrives. Being client-centered is really about a mindset and embracing the mindset of being client-centered. And it's a really important concept that you can apply in the COVID-19 environment that we're in right now, because it allows you to think about legal service delivery in a completely new and innovative way. And it's a mindset that's helped law firms reinvent themselves and the way they deliver legal services. So I've got a lot to say about being client-centered. In fact, I've got so much to say about it that I wrote a whole book about it. I'll also be talking later today in a session at 11:30 Pacific about the client-centered law firm and how you can embrace some of these concepts to become a client-centered law firm. But the key takeaway for this session of the keynote, this section of the keynote that I'd like to spend time on, is how you can think about deploying some of the technologies I just described into a reimagined client journey. And again, if we put on the VUCA Prime lens on this evolution, we want to think with clarity and have a vision for how we move this entire client journey into the cloud in a way that it orbits around the needs of our clients that are dealing with all the unique challenges that COVID-19 is presenting at the moment. So let me walk you through a specific example of how we bring the technologies I've outlined earlier in this keynote to life in a client-centered journey. The example I'm going to walk through is of Diana Moya. She's a new mother who wants to create a will for herself so that her family and her son's future is secure if she were to pass away unexpectedly. And I want to walk through the entire client journey and how some parts of this journey are living, every part of this journey, rather, is living entirely in the cloud. So first of all, if we think about the awareness stage of the client journey, where Moya is trying to build context for what's available, she will start her search for lawyers in her area. She'll search for wills and estates lawyers in Oakland. She'll see a list of Google search results, and we'll see our law firm, Modern Legal Planning, ranked at the top of the search results thanks to its Google My Business profile. You can see that Modern Legal Planning has a number of very strong reviews, and Moya will click this listing and see all the details, the integrated Google My Business listing for Modern Legal Planning. She'll see a fully populated listing, and as I mentioned, one with many positive reviews, and one that also, by the way, offers the ability to make appointments online. We'll read some reviews and get excited about the feedback that Modern Legal Planning gets from its clients. We'll then move on to evaluating the law firm with their website. Modern Legal Planning is really innovative in that they're offering subscription legal packages. So rather than offering a fixed fee offering, for example, or an hourly rate offering, Modern Legal Planning is offering will packages that are billed at a very accessible price on a yearly basis. Basic wills at $50 a year, going up to the Advantage will package at $75 a year, and the Pro package at $100 a year. Moya's not sure what package is right for her, so she goes ahead and books an initial consultation. This initial consultation is integrated directly into the website's workflow thanks to Clio Grow. And within a matter of a few hours, she's on the initial consultation with Modern Legal Planning through a secure video call. And she is thrilled with everything she's seen to this point. She has her initial consultation successfully, decides on the specific package that she'll move forward with. She figures that the basic package is all that she needs. She receives the electronic engagement letter, which she signs using Clio's integrated e-signature tools. And then during the case, she receives an onboarding link to Clio for Clients. She's able to easily tap that download link, and again, in a completely simple, passwordless yet secure workflow, she's right in the dashboard for Clio for Clients. She sees a new message waiting for her from her lawyer, and she's able to see the retainer agreement that was signed earlier and exchange secure texts with her lawyer, who asked for a copy of her land title. Using the integrated document scanner in Clio for Clients, Moya is able to scan this land title agreement and submit it effortlessly and easily to her lawyer using the Clio for Clients app. She then receives her final bill in her inbox, which she's able to pay on a mobile optimized link with a direct payment link, making the payment of the bill completely effortless. And after paying the bill, Moya receives a thank you for payment and a referral request and an offer to leave a review online on Google My Business. And Moya goes ahead and offers a 5-star review via Google because her client experience was so amazing. And because she has this amazing online experience with the Clio for Clients and a subscription legal service, when she goes ahead and gets married 11 months later, she's able to add her spouse easily and effortlessly to the will and goes back to modern law practice and gets her will updated. So this is a vision for how the entire client journey, a few notable things. This entire client journey moved online without a single physical touch point along the way. We've got a way of completely reimagining how legal services are delivered, the specifics of how they're delivered in a subscription economy, along with the cloud-based technologies that make this experience as effortless as possible. And I want to emphasize something really important, and that is that the customer experience, the client experience, matters more than it ever has. And this is something that we will see the law firms that truly succeed and truly thrive, not just in 2020 and beyond, will be the law firms that embrace this concept of the law firm flywheel, and the law firms that understand that their future clients are going to be drawn to their law firm, and the repeat business from their existing clients will be drawn to their law firm thanks to the unbelievable client experiences they're able to deliver. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing about our future of legal service delivery and our vision for what the future of legal service delivery looks like. I talked about earlier about the fact that this idea of cloud-based practice management is too limiting in terms of thinking about how we're leveraging the cloud to deliver legal services online. The tools and technologies that are available to us today are allowing us to completely and foundationally reimagine the way that we're acquiring clients and the way we're delivering services to those clients online. It's an exciting new world for the lawyers that approach this problem with the tool set of VUCA Prime and realize that there is a legitimate and amazing opportunity to grow and to thrive amidst all of this change. I want you to approach the rest of this conference thinking about not how do we get back to normal, but how do we build a better normal. And I hope you enjoy the next 4 days of programming. And as I mentioned earlier, enjoy the community that is the Clio Cloud 9 community over the course of the next 4 days. I'll be talking to you more over the course of the conference. Thanks for joining me for this opening keynote. Have an amazing time. Thanks, everyone.